Did you know Stan Lee created Superman in 2001? But he was a little different. Welcome back to Read Your Comics. My name is Daryl and I am your host. I've been doing a series of videos on Superman as we build up towards James Gunn's Superman reboot, which should be happening the week I'm airing this episode. So I thought it'd be fun to take a look at a different spin on Superman. This isn't our typical Kal-El that we know. This is Stan Lee's Reimagining, or from a line of books called Just Imagine, Stan Lee's, and then DC characters. I didn't read any of these when these came out. I remember this line. I remember when they came out, but at this point, I was burned out on some of these events. We had Amalgam, Tangent Comics, all these like new reimagining, reinterpretations of these characters. And I'll be honest, by 2001, I wasn't looking for a Stan Lee written book. I love the Stan of old. To this day, I find his dialogue a little struggle to get through at times, but it's fun. It's of its time. By this point, anytime you ran across a Stan Lee written book in this modern time, it never quite held up. So, these had like probably a $5 cover price on them at the time, $6, which was probably double what like a standard book was. So I skipped them. But I got this one for $1, and since I'm doing these Superman videos, I thought, hey, let's take a look at something different for a change. He also brings John Buscema with him, and to my knowledge, this may be the only book that John Buscema ever did for DC, unless he did another one of these Just Imagine. So you've got a Marvel team here. So you've got a Marvel Silver Bronze Age team here working on some DC characters, but getting to do whatever they want with them and completely reimagine them. So they're not pigeonholed into what we already knew about the characters. But I will say, seeing this dynamic pose of this new Superman really makes me wish we'd have gotten a John Buscema Superman story, a real one of some sort at some point. Man, he would have knocked that out of the park, I think. So before I go ahead and crack this open, let me do my usual reminder to subscribe to my channel if you are new here or just haven't done so already. Lots of repeat viewers are people who aren't subscribed. Maybe you just don't realize you haven't subscribed. Go ahead and double check that and hit subscribe now while you're thinking about it. All right, let's jump on in. Stan Lee has a little introduction. I'm assuming this was in the front of all of these. He's basically saying, I'm not really trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just having fun with this one little series of one-shots. Don't take offense and assume that I am trying to make it better or fix any problems that I think I see. No, he's just basically taking the name and some very general concepts and putting his own spin on it. And I do enjoy this opening line where it says, in a far distant galaxy, in another universe, no point telling you its name, you couldn't even begin to pronounce it. So letting you know off the bat in a very whimsical way that this is just so far out in space and it's not even like a universe that we've ever seen before. And we get a lot of detail about these characters right off the bat. We're going to assume that this is our Superman, right? He's got blonde hair in this, so they're going against all the typical tropes. This woman that's with him is saying that there's some new green rock that's allowing them to travel farther in space than they've ever gone before, and how exciting it is. And he says he gets enough kicks working as a lawbringer. Her name is Layla. And when I'm back from mopping up the slime balls, then you, baby, provide all the excitement I need. So even in that just one little word balloon right there, I'm already getting the sense that this is not the Boy Scout, truth, justice, and the American way kind of Superman. That this guy has kind of an edge to him. And then more Stan Lee whimsy. I've taken the liberty of translating our characters' dialogue into basic Earth for those of you whose galactic vocabulary may be a bit rusty. Straight talking Stan. So Stan's leaning into his own little gags and gimmicks. And as we turn the page, we learn that our Our Superman here is kind of a gym rat. He's on a muscle building machine that he apparently spends all his time on because he's not genetically altered like his fellow police officers, that they're genetically altered, and he hates to be the weakest of them all. And then they lay it on thick about how much these two love each other. And he flies off, and you're like, oh, well, he can fly. But then over here, he mentions how he has some kind of new shoulder harness that allows him to fly pretty much silently. And he's kind of marveling at the wonders of the science and technology of his world here. This is giving very like Flash Gordon, Adam Strange kind of vibes, I think. Very pulpy sci-fi. So he arrives at a situation with some of the other lawbringers here. They look like they're all dressed in the same uniform, but he must be some kind of captain despite being one of the weakest. And there's a hostage situation going on. So despite this advanced society, they still have their own problem with crimes and stuff. We're getting some great John Buscema action choreography here. Man, these faces scream Buscema bad guys. So Stan's going to go ahead and really hammer home the whole he's the smallest, he's the not genetically modified. You can tell that these guys are bigger, but they go out pretty quick and easy, and it leaves it to our man here to save the day. And you could tell he's a pretty adept fighter, even though he does seem kind of small. Get a quick wrap up of the whole interaction here with him talking to the head of the police force or whatever. His name is Salden, by the way. Squadron Salden. No, Squadman. Squadman Salden. Yeah. Thanks, Captain. I'll be going home now. So his whole workday was this one fight. Meanwhile, this guy is like a prisoner. He's a convict somewhere, and he's escaping. He beats the guard, steals his levitation shoulder pad thing, and just flies off and says he's going to go take revenge on the person that put him in there. We're going to just assume it's our Salden Superman, right? And of course, he goes in to attack him, and he's not there, but his wife or girlfriend, I don't think it really explained their relationship other than they're a couple and they love each other a lot. She's there, and he ties her up, and sirens. Blasted squadman must have traced me to here. Well, yeah, you announced where you were going. Payback to the creep who sent me here. It's not like they don't communicate. Come on, man. And Lyella is she dead? Is she just tied up? I don't know. He yells no, as if she maybe was dead. Did he kill her? Yep, Lyella is dead. Gorak killed her because of me. No. This is the first kind of close-up look we've gotten to see that he has Superman S's on his chest right there. I guess that's the little touch of the original Superman that we're gonna see. So he goes and tracks this guy down whose name is Gorak. What does he say? Gundar Gorak. And he's gone to this space-time machine that was mentioned on the very first page to escape. And he's going to put in an air-breathing planet to get away. And he's disappointed that he didn't get to take him out. But he killed his love, so figured that was enough. Them's the breaks, he says. And Gorak just opens the door and welcomes him in and decides to take off because he knew it would throw him back. Because I'm belted in and you're not. I mean, the dialogue is pretty stiff. So it's kind of an interesting little story here. I mean, it's like I said, it's some pulpy sci-fi tropes, but the dialogue, man, the Stan Lee dialogue is hard sometimes. Thankfully, we get this good John Buscema fight scenes going on here. The man knows figure work. This is 2001, and he passed away in 2002, so this could be some of the last stuff that he did. And clearly they're heading towards Earth. They continue to fight, and it looks like Gorak got the best of him there for a minute, and he just abandoned ship. Didn't finish him off, just abandoned ship. Fortunately, the ship crashes into water, and he has to figure out how to get out. And as he swims out, he realizes he swam really fast, and the pressure and water current didn't even slow him down. He's coming to the surface and swimming faster than sharks, and gets to the beach and wants to take a break, and of course some goons show up. And he's discovering quickly that he is a lot stronger and faster all of a sudden. And then he comes to the conclusion that gravity is different on this planet that he's on, and that's why he's able to move so much faster, because the gravity on his planet is stronger, and this is like moving in a vacuum, he says. And it seems like he sees everything moving slower, like him dropping his wrist communicator looked slow to fall to him, and the cars, of course, look slow, and everything is primitive and to his eyes. So it's starting out kind of like Superman did originally. He can leap really far. He's discovering he has like a telescopic vision because of the thin atmosphere. And he's determined that he must find a way to get home to honor his love who was murdered. But first, he's going to find Gorak, who's still out there, and he must kill him. But his little flying shoulder harness thing isn't working. He says, no matter, I'll wear it anyway. So I guess the shoulder harness for him, it looked like shoulder pads on the what the other character was wearing, but the whole cape must be part of his like silent one or something. And I guess his society is so advanced he's able to decipher English from looking at a newspaper. He notices how many letters are in the alphabet. Only 26. Back home, we have more than 1,000 letters. It's so simple that he's able to figure it out, and which is lucky for me. No more translating. Lazy Bones Lee. And then we have Gorak down here who's planning to take over the world. He realizes that he flew down from the sky, so they must see him as a god. And he's clearly just going to take over this tribe. Some solid Buscema work here as well. All of it. And just flinging bodies off of him, swinging a tree around, making the women dance for him. He looks a little Lex Luthor-y here too, doesn't he? Even though his name is Gorak. At a typical kind of Silver Age fashion, we're going to enter a circus. Stan loved setting things in a circus. I guess the circus was like a big form of entertainment in his youth, and he goes back to the circus over and over again, and that's how this Superman is going to learn to make some money. He's learned the language, and he figures I can go in here and entertain them with my feats of strength. It's a bit ridiculous. He's standing on his head on a trapeze holding two women up. And they're making some bank. The circus manager is happy, and he's like, how do you do it? You got built-in gizmos? He's like, yep, built-in gizmos. That's how I do it. And then he's going to take on the name. So he asks him what his name is. He sees Clark on Kent Street. So he says, Clark Kent. The name's Kent. Clark Kent. And there you have it. There's your origin of Stan Lee's Superman's secret identity. And the circus manager wants him to stay and build a whole show around him. He says, forget it. That's kids' stuff. I just needed a stake to tide me over. There's something important I've got to do. He's left scratching his head. So this guy comes in for one day in a crazy costume, puts on this amazing, ridiculous show, could become the most famous person on Earth with the stunts he's performing, but he just wanders off down the street. And then we get a little Stan Lee commentary here as our Superman is discovering that Earth has the technology to create this space-time bender, but why are they so far behind in their space travel? And he gathers it from watching TV. It's because most of their money is wasted. It's spent on fighting crime, arming for war, and fighting terrorism. But maybe fate sent me here for a reason. Maybe I can make a difference. So now he's getting ideas of how to help Earth and at the same time get himself back home. And his big grand plan is first take care of Gorak and then eliminate crime so that they can concentrate on their space program and get him back home. And then he gets a grand idea from comic books to have a secret identity, not admit that he's an alien, and just say his powers are coming from his suit. And Gorak has made his way to Los Angeles, where he's just easily destroying ATMs, and he's trying to think of a quicker way to just take over the whole city. He wants to do it efficiently. And as he's walking past this church, a couple comes out and says, "Oh, there you are. We've been waiting for you." And there's a classic Buscema looking face, that like angry Snarled up nose, frowning, open mouth. And we're going to throw a new character in here who apparently has some mystic powers. And where he was kicking out reporters, this woman shows up, and it's none other than Lois Lane. But she is not a reporter. She's an agent that can make him famous. And he quickly says, if I become famous, Gorok may come after me. Oh, okay, come in, Miss Lane. And she coins him to be Superman. She says, we've got a big gimmick. We'll call you the Superman. People will pay all kinds of money to come see you, buy merch, yada yada. And he's just thinking the whole time, as long as it brings Gorok out of hiding and to come after me. And all of a sudden, these CIA agents break in, and they're here to take his suit. And they said they're going to take it to the Pentagon to be tested. Tested? You didn't even give it time to study. So our Stanley Superman is adept at dad jokes already on Earth. And then more people just barging in. Who's this guy coming in saying that this technology belongs to him? He's a lawyer that Lois has hired. And just then, the Chinese president who's arriving to Los Angeles has been kidnapped. And our Superman, everything is goal-oriented with him. And he's like, oh no, if a war breaks out, that'll set back their space program. So his whole goal is to set Earth on the path to their space program getting him back home. So he takes off to save the Chinese president to make sure no war breaks out. And he bursts into the Pentagon where with his plan of action, and they're just like, let's hear him out. And I guess his plan is to essentially be a Trojan horse. He's going to be part of this package that's a demand from the terrorists. And something crazy goes on here. This helicopter shows up and makes a hole open in the ground, and the package goes down instead of carrying the package away. So that's leading me to believe that this mystic guy we saw a minute ago is involved. And sure enough, here's Grok, and now he's got Lois. How does this happen? This happens a little too fast. Stan's running out of pages. He's got to start wrapping it up. A classic Superman pose, breaking chains, like that Neil Adams cover on Superman 233, done by John Buscema this time. That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't you have loved to have seen a John Buscema Superman story? Like a real one? Starting to lose some backgrounds now, John. I'm just noticing his gloves, too, are kind of like boxing gloves. But it's like got the one finger, the index finger, and the other three kind of covered up. So he rescues Lois. This is a pretty classic looking Superman transition, running and jumping. And all this dialogue just gets silly. There's a lot of describing what's happening in the picture. A lot of redundant characterization of the, like Lois here saying like how she's going to sign him to an ironclad contract and all this stuff. Really hammering home some of the character tropes that Stan was building up here. But he still hasn't rescued the Chinese president. So he goes back to Gorok and has to fight some more. Tearing up some train track, tying up people in it. That's pretty cool. Pretty fun. Gorok has this rocket launcher, and he doesn't really know what it'll do to him. I don't think he's really been tested by being shot at yet. Where he definitely has like some speed, telescopic vision. Hasn't really shown him using super hearing. But the dummy, he shot it at something that came down on top of him himself. The rubble fell down on him. And that's the end of it. He would have survived that. As powerful as he is. But we still have to find the Chinese president. A goofy MacGuffin of Lois. Say, we can still get you on the Larry King show that they mentioned earlier. My watch is gone, but there's a clock over there. And he uses his telescopic vision and sees the Chinese president strapped with bombs to the clock. I mean, Stan's getting like super tropey here. So, all's well that ends well with the new Superman saving the Chinese president, averting a war in the terrorist group, but leaving some dangling threads of Gorok and this like mystic person that was helping him, who played really no part in it. Come on, Stan. You knew this was just a one-shot. Why'd you write it as if it was going to have a second issue? And him and Lois go off down the street completely in their own heads about what's going on. His whole concern is Gorok getting the space program up and everything, and her whole concern is to make him a star and make money off of it. Meanwhile, he says Gorok couldn't have done those things on his own. I got a feeling somebody else is here pulling some strings, and that's your cliffhanger for the non-existent second issue, setting it up. There's some fun stuff here. It's kind of generic in a lot of ways. It's trying to incorporate some of the traditional Superman tropes, but also a little bit of like maybe Flash Gordon or something. I don't know. It's fun. This is an entertaining thing. Like I said, I didn't really read any of these other Just Imagine books, so I don't know how similar the other ones are as far as like trying to work in the traditional tropes of the characters. I think of like the Tangent universe, which was really fun, and those just pretty much just put classic names on new characters, completely different ideas and everything. But this one, it's still like an alien that comes from a different planet. Being on this planet causes him to have some like super abilities. Kind of funny that they made a point of him being a weakling on his home planet, or a weakling, not a augmented soldier. That really had zero bearing on anything. It was almost just trying to show that on his planet he was just an average Joe, but here on Earth he's a Superman. So then we get this backup story by Kyle Baker, master cartoonist. I really enjoy his animated style here, but the man can draw like straight up classic style too. That's just incredible. But his humor books are kind of some of his best that I've run across anyway. So here he's doing a story of like a comic publisher, and it's just kind of a gag that he wants to get this new Superman under his comic publishing, and they determine that he's an alien, so he doesn't have any rights, and they're just going to go ahead and make comics about him. And Lois, the agent, shows up and, basically is there to issue a cease and desist. And he's like, nope, they don't have rights. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, let's see. So she calls him up. He's like, hold up. And then it more or less just scares him into saying he'll quit and that he'll pay the royalties. Kind of funny for a Stan Lee book to have a... Now, Stan didn't write this. I think Kyle Baker actually wrote this, but kind of funny for creator rights in a way. Paying the royalties due someone else. You even have the Stan character saying, careful, miss, Joe's checks sometimes bounce. If this bounces, so will he. And then Lois calling DC Comics, representing Superman. I hear you're looking for a new strip to replace Zatara the Magician in Action Comics. Good. Have your people call my people. And that wraps up Stan Lee's Superman. You get a back cover by Adam Hughes. It's hard to recognize Adam Hughes when he's not drawing a woman. I gotta say, I like the Buscema side much better. He looks angry here, this Superman, doesn't he? Well, that's it. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed Stan Lee's version of Superman, his take on some classic tropes, mixing up pulp sci-fi with the first superhero. That's all I got. Until next time, read your comics.